And welcome back to the Breakin Broncos podcast. This man has got his camera now fixed. And as always, your host, Dan Weststein, with my co-host, Dylan Miles. We are back. We are here to talk Sean Payton, Broncos season review, Broncos offseason primer, and some of the insanity that's been going on in social media today. We have to touch on these things because they are so outlandish and so insane, starting with the most outlandish and insane thing that has been said today by anybody within the sports realm, or that I've heard in a really long time, is Arian Foster, former running back of the Houston Texans, who had a really good career up until about 30, like most running backs, fell off a cliff. He's always been a bit of a loon. He claims that the NFL is scripted, just to put it plainly. He claims that the NFL is no different than the WWE. Of course it is. Of course, there is thousands and thousands upon thousands of people that work on all of these different teams, whether they be players, coaches, front office. All of them are on the take, and they're all keeping a secret. Thousands and thousands of humans are all keeping a secret. What say you, Dylan? Is this plausible?
It's totally scripted. I mean, do you see that AFC Championship game? And that NFC Championship game, dude?
Right, yes.
Dude, they wrote that, dude. They wrote Brock Purdy Tommy John surgery. I mean,
straight face.
And then he comeback player of the year 2024. It's inevitable now. No,
serious journalism going on right now, guys.
Yeah, dude, they had to have the Kelsey Bowl. They had to write the Kelsey Bowl for at least one time.
Right, because everybody cares so much
about
a tight end
Kelsey's
and a center.
Jason Kelsey's on his last limb. I mean, you had to have had it, right? Like, you had to write it.
I'm just saying, like, that part right there, like that argument that, like, oh, the NFL wanted the Kelsey. Who cares? Honestly,
right.
Who cares? Other than the 12-year-old to 14-year-old boys that are in their mama's basement that are watching Jason and Travis on their podcast have a whole bunch of fun. I'm not trying to take
pretty good podcast, guys, so I do listen to it.
I gotta say, yes, it is a decent podcast. They are very funny people. They're very funny dudes. Okay, I'm not ragging on the Kelseys. I like the Kelseys, even though one of them's on one of my most hated rivals.
One of them ruined my game in fantasy against me.
Yes, cost Dylan a win against me.
I kind of hate Travis Kelce just because of that reason, though.
I'm sure
I liked him before that.
I'm sure you do. He turned a 13% chance of winning into a 100% chance for me. So that's why I can't hate Travis Kelce completely. But the fact that people think that the NFL has seen enough people want to see that, like, they won't even be on the field at the same time.
Right.
Ever. Like, it's like talking about quarterbacks facing they don't face each other. They can't. They both play offense.
Unless they put Travis in on defense, dude. Just throw him in at middle linebacker and let him do his thing.
Now, like, say it was like Travis was a center, or Travis was a defensive tackle, and Jason was a center as he is.
Right.
Then we can have a conversation about brother versus brother in the that would be but it's not. So let's stop pretending like the NFL thinks that enough people are going to watch and buy tickets simply because the Kelce brothers are going to be nobody's buying a ticket to the Super Bowl nor watching the Super Bowl because of the Kelce brothers outside of the Kelce family.
I was about to say, except for the family.
Yes, exactly.
And friends too. Well, that's it.
Yes. Hello, I appreciate you coming in as always.
That's so funny to me though, but it's cool though because it's the first time that brothers are going to play though, which is a really cool thing.
Right.
I am excited for the Super Bowl as much as I wanted the Bengals to win.
Is it really the first time brothers
have ever faced off in the Super Bowl? I saw that stat the other day. You would have never have thought. There's been
by
one
now,
duo of brothers
so many
that have played in the Super Bowl, but they were on the same team. It was the brothers on the Patriots.
Right. Sorry, real quick. I am intentionally not streaming on Facebook. I can't. I can only send to 3 different outlets. That is our YouTube channel, Let's Talk Sports YouTube channel, and our Twitter. So if you are not on one of those 3, I'm sorry, we can't stream to you right now. Unless somebody wants to pay me money and I can upgrade. Right. Somebody wants to buy a subscription, I can upgrade and send them more. But as of right now, this is what we can afford. So until people start sharing my stuff so I can get famous. No, I'm just kidding.
Yeah.
Yes, all of you. We're pointing at you. All of you out there. Share my stuff. No. But back to the nature
of. But seriously, do it.
Yeah, do it. Yes, do it. Seriously. We have donation buttons. There's you can tip us on Twitter, and you can subscribe to the website. The answer is 42media.net. You can pick your subscription. We have different tiers. Pick one, everywhere from $1.99 a month all the way up to $20 a month. I could do more than $20, but even at $20 a month, I feel a little shameful asking for that. So if you want to give me $20 a month, I will love you forever. But that's the max that I am allowing people to pay me at this time.
That reminds me of, I don't know what, it's just to give you $20 was the street performer we saw in Denver one night. He was doing like a magic guy. And he just goes, feel free to put money in the hat. $1 is great, 5's nice, 10's amazing. If you give me $20, I'm coming home with you.
I like that. I'm coming home with you. If you got $20 to throw in my hat, that's how I feel. Like I will come to your home and we will have a live in your living room if you give me $20 a month. I will give you that.
Right.
We can do one together if you want to make it like that. But no, back to the nature at hand, talking about Arian Foster and the NFL being rigged. I just want to give some background to some people that might not know who Arian Foster is, because he's been out of the league for quite a while.
It's been a long time.
Yeah. So I think that was, it's not been like terribly long.
Yeah.
His last season was like 2016.
But still, that's 7 years ago coming on.
Yeah. In NFL years, that's an eternity. So
he's eligible for the Hall of Fame if he was a Hall of Fame caliber player.
Right. Exactly. He's been out that long. So he was a bit of a nut when he was in the league. Like he was Kyrie before Kyrie was even known.
But not his first couple of seasons though.
No, he was an absolute beast. Like, and
then he had those concussions.
Right. When I say like Kyrie, I mean the off the field stuff. Like he's a flat earther. I mean, pretty much he is Kyrie.
They got a point though. They got a point on flat earth. No.
I know, right? But he could have been Kyrie's mentor. Like he was the original flat earther. Like he started out as like this evangelical Christian type dude. And then by about 2015, 2016, he came out as atheist. Like he made this whole big story on, I think it was the Players Tribune, if I remember. It was like one of the first stories they had on that site. And he made this huge story about how like the indoctrination of religion. It was some of the weirdest stuff, like talking about flat earthers. There was even some possible, like some things that people were like, that might be anti-Semitic. So again, like I said, he was Kyrie and Kanye before they were even known as Kyrie and Kanye. So the fact that he would be the one to come up with this, right? Like if this was like, say, Larry Fitzgerald or somebody like that came out with this, I might give it some credence. Even then,
I'll hear you out.
Right, like I'll hear you out. But even then, I'd be like, man, I wonder how many times you actually took concussions that were not diagnosed. Like that would be my mentality. But I might actually listen and hear him out. But with
like these ACL tears,
right? Arian Foster on a podcast called Macro Dosing, which is really about hallucinogenics.
So you mean microdosing?
No, it's called macro dosing. I know the word is micro dosing when it comes to this, but the name of the podcast
the podcast.
Macro. Yeah, the name of the podcast.
That sounds like something new I've never heard of.
No, it's the name of the podcast is called Macro Dosing.
I didn't pay attention to that. I just listened.
Yeah. Then they named the segment "Microdosing with Arian Foster." they are talking about hallucinogenics, and then we're supposed to be giving credence to a man that has obviously taken a lot of drugs in his life, that he was scripted to have 3 touchdowns this week, 4 touchdowns that week, and things of that, and that all practices are just about them practicing the
choreography.
Yeah, the choreography, essentially. It's like, are you kidding me? What is going on here?
Now,
why are we even having this conversation? And there's people that are taking this seriously.
Right.
Like, go on my Twitter. I put up a joke about how the NFL, how did the NFL script Henry Ruggs murdering a woman and her dog? How did they?
Dude, I've seen so many of those memes.
So many, so good. Even Dan Orlovsky got himself, like, he went self-deprecating, talking about totally scripted, and has the video of him running out the back of the end zone. Like,
it's so great that he has a good sense of humor about it, though.
Like, he does to the point, but I still don't care for it.
Yeah, but it's just like, how could you not? Like, if that's what you're known for, you got to, like, dig into it.
Yeah. I mean, it's only when he does it, though. He doesn't like it when other people. It's only he can make fun of himself, which I don't like. Now, let's just
play the clip out of
That's
spite.
the part I don't like. Right. But, okay. All right. I'm sorry. We spent 15 minutes on this. I don't want to go too much more into this. I want to cover officiating, because this is where that conspiracy theory stems from for most people, is that they believe that these men and women who are all professionals, not just as referees, but most of these men and women are lawyers, doctors, dentists. I'm talking about true professionals that already have a 6-figure paying job, that also work this part-time gig called refereeing in the NFL, where at max they will work 36 hours a week in season, during the season, that they're on the take, and they're getting another 6 figures from the part-time job. Okay, They got a full-time job making 6 figures. They got a part-time job making
that'd be like so cool,
$300,000. Right. Refs make as much as $300,000. They make as much as a congressman. Okay,
dude. If I have that,
17 days a week,
dude, we're in the wrong business.
Right? I heard that, and I'm like, you know what? I think I might quit and become a referee.
Right.
Let's just go. $300,000.
Let's just go rest, because then once the season's over, you don't have anything to do. You can just hang out.
Really. You just watch. You
got $300K. You're just chilling, dude.
Right. $300,000 for 17 days a year.
Not like your first,
maybe
first
20,
2 seasons.
Yeah,
and you just
maybe
save
20 if you're really good and you end up in the playoffs. Like, the most you're gonna work is less than a month a year. Like,
now imagine that paycheck for the Super Bowl.
Bro, I'm saying, like, the bonuses, and that's just $300,000. That's the base salary.
Right.
That's not the bonuses they get for
17 regular season games.
Bro, I'll do them all.
Right. I'll go every Sunday, dude. I
will go every Sunday to the NFL. I'll go every Saturday and Sunday to the USFL. I'll go to the XFL. Baby, I will go to the Canadian Football League. I'll do every damn season.
You won't catch me in high school, dude.
Right. Exactly. I will do them all. I'll go to Pee Wee League games. Like, bro, pay me $300,000. You can send me anywhere.
I was like, dude, you're sending me to Tampa to go to the Bucks. I'm just going to Florida.
That's what I'm saying. And, like, they get to do all this traveling, and they get the best seat in the house on every game.
And then they're obviously compensating you with, like, a hotel.
Yes, you get free travel.
You get, like, a nice hotel.
Food. Everything's free, then you get paid. Like,
dude, that's just like a side gig for most of them. Like, how cool would that be if that was just your job?
And so how do you buy that? How do you buy that person? Like, they obviously have everything they need.
Dude, like, unless they are the greediest, you're just gonna spend that on some crazy things.
That's what I'm saying. It's like, these guys, they already have 6 figures from their full-time job. They're getting 6 figures from a part-time job. They're getting all this free travel, free food, free merchandise, because they get all kinds of merchandise from the NFL for free. So, like, and the reason the NFL compensates them this way is because of the integrity of the game. Because they know if they don't compensate them, then it risks the integrity of the game. And that's what this all boils down to.
We need a referee Hall of Fame now at this point, dude, with some of these refs. Right? You go look back at some of these referees with suit.
The Trail's all for it. She's like, yeah, it would suit y'all. That's great.
Dude.
No, like for real, I've really kind of thought about it these last couple of days. I'm like, what am I doing here? Struggling around trying to get a following in the right way, and I can just go be a ref and be rich, and then I can still do this.
Yeah, I can just hang out and just do this for fun.
Right? Like I don't even care if this makes money at that point.
Imagine the stories some of these refs had. Like they need, like some of these refs just need to get a show, like do a podcast. I would listen to it.
I would.
Some of the stories they have about some of these legendary players.
Dean Blandino.
Yeah.
I'm just letting you know, like he has a really good podcast.
Yeah, I do. I need to start listening to that. I heard about that recently. I was like, how come we haven't heard more?
Yeah, he's on the Pro Football Talk Network.
Some of these stories that these guys
I'm sure they got amazing ones.
I mean, like you got to look back at it. Some of those.
I'm sure there's a lot of stories they can't tell, but I'm sure the ones that they can.
Like some of them have been going since the '90s. So, like,
yes.
Some of them have reffed Favre, Manning, Elway, Brady, and then like the new generation quarterbacks. So just imagine that.
Yeah, like Ed Hockley. Like, imagine all the greatness that man has seen.
Right.
Like, I would love to sit down and have conversations with him and like talk to him about like what was it like when you were on the field with Dan Marino and Doug Williams and John Elway, Joe Montana, like all of these great moments. Yes. He was at I think like either two or three of the 4 Super Bowls that the Bills lost. He was part of the All-Star team. So like he got to see like to have those stories. Like how was it on the field with the players when it went wide left and when it went wide right?
God,
like having those
conversations.
Oh my God, the conversations would be amazing.
Imagine the Minneapolis Miracle. You're that official. That's just on. You're just that line judge.
Yep, I just gave one. Dean Blandino. I don't remember the name of it. Here, I'll get the name of it, but yes, Dean Blandino.
I'm gonna have to listen to that on my way to work tomorrow.
Blandino podcast. I think it might just be his name. Oh, it's called Good Calls with Dean Blandino. Yeah, it is a good name. That's a good name too. Good Calls by Dean Blandino, and you can get it on Apple Podcast and all the other places that you get your podcasts. It's part of the Pro Football Talk Network.
Dude, we just need to find a referee and befriend him and just get stories.
I wish I know now that we're talking, like I got to do it. Like I've got to find a seasoned vet referee just to talk stories. Because like some of the stories, Blandino wasn't even a ref for that long. Like he like flew through the ring because he's a pretty boy and they could put him on TV.
Right, like he reffed and they're like,
yeah,
here's a good script. Good. Let's put this guy on TV.
Yeah, he was really good at his job. He looked really good. You know, he had a face for TV, stuff like that. So he really
you're pretty good at scripting games. How about scripting TV?
Right. So actually now I have to know that he's got to have put out a podcast. I'm gonna have to look at the podcast now because he's got to have a take on
make one about it now.
Yeah, about this. So
no way you can't.
Really, to boil it down, and so we can move into talking about the Broncos. This is all ridiculousness, guys. This is off-season ridiculousness. Arian Foster is just a clout-chasing ex-NFL running back that feels like he's not getting the recognition that he deserves for the few years he was really, really good, and you guys aren't nice to me.
God,
so
he was good those years.
He was really good. Dude. Like I'm not.
I keep forgetting about him. Years. I heard that name when I saw that clip. I'm like, Arian Foster. Dude, I haven't heard that.
Yeah,
name
I think
in years.
Like at one point he held the record for the most all-purpose yards in a season. Like rushing, receiving, and all of that. Yeah. So like he had a season of like 20 total touchdowns. Like the kid was no joke. Like I'm not going to take away from his athletic prowess, but when it comes to this is just simply a person that feels he's an Al Bundy. Like he's clout chasing. He's trying to relive the glory days and he can't give them up. And he's mad that his little macro dosing isn't doing as good as he thought it would do. And so he said something salacious that got everybody riled up and got him a bunch of attention for him and his podcast.
This is the same situation of a joke I heard. It's just like somebody talked about, it's like Arian Foster's just like, you know, say what you want about the man off the field, but when he was on the field, he was something else for some of those years. And it was a joke. I think it might have been Chappelle. I think it was. It was like talking about OJ. He's like, hey, he may have murdered somebody, but that murderer rushed for 11,000 yards.
Yeah, I remember it was Dave Chappelle. He was doing a comparison of different people and
That's such a great bit.
R. Kelly. And, he was using all of those guys. I know what you're
murderer
talking about.
rushed for 11,000 yards.
Yes, I know. Only Dave Chappelle, bro. Only Dave Chappelle. But and then the officiating thing, funny. It's a bunch of people with a slanted viewpoint. Most of the people that are upset with refereeing, if you pay attention, are degenerate gamblers that are mad because they lost money. And they can't admit that they made a stupid bet, so they have to blame it on somebody.
That's
and
scripted.
The easy scapegoat is going to be referees. It's at best, it's their anecdotal evidence from a slanted view.
Now, when you talk about refs,
best.
The officiating in the Eagles 49ers NFC title game wasn't bad. That was good because that was just a blowout. What else are you going to do? But which that really disappointed me because I picked the Niners that
blowout
week.
In more ways than one, especially with Brock Purdy's elbow. But go ahead.
Oh, dude, that hurt, dude. I was really rooting for that kid.
It really did.
And but when you go to the AFC title game, that was probably game of the year. Honestly, it was a great game until the end when the Chiefs won. But we'll leave it there.
Yeah, that's the reason it went terrible. Exactly.
But
100% agree.
Still overall a great game. But there was just on that last drive, like I get, like referees are human, they make mistakes, they miss things. But how do you miss 4 holding calls on the last drive? 4.
Because they decided all-star teams were a great idea for referees. So you have teams that have not worked together all year that are now working together. So there's some discombobulation. Like until they get used to that, until they've had a few seasons where they've worked with these other guys in the postseason, you're going to have some mix-ups.
Go get Ed Hockley's back.
They made a lot of changes to the rule book in the last 2 years, guys. Y'all have got, and they've had a different point.
You're just sitting there, and it's just like
every year.
Oh, 4 on the game-winning drive. That could have sent it to overtime. Who knows? The Chiefs won the toss. Mahomes would have thrown like a 90-yard touchdown pass, but still,
who knows? Who knows what would have happened? But again, just to boil it down, Arian Foster's is full of crap. The referees are doing the best they can, but humans will human. They make mistakes. But enough about silliness, enough about referees. Let's get into what you all came here for and something that can get us all excited. Sean Payton has officially been traded from the Saints to the Broncos. Broncos gave up their first-round pick this season, second-round pick next season, and got Sean Payton and a third-round pick next season, 2024, in return. Good deal, bad deal? What do you say?
Here's where I'm going to go. I'm going to say good deal because, I mean, what the team's looking for in this offseason, right, is going to be rebuild the O-line. That's priority number 1. It should be priority number 1 is rebuild the O-line.
There were 2 constants in New Orleans for Breeze: pass protection and pass catchers, the 2 primary P's of an offense.
And then that's where the draft's going to go. They're going to find a couple of O-linemen, maybe in some of those mid to late 3rd round picks and 4th round. But really, free agency is going to be big. I mean, you got the Waltons, richest owners in the league. You can make some moves on some O-linemen this offseason. But really, you're going to save some of those draft picks for some extra skill players. Maybe get a couple of receivers. Maybe like a 1 or 2 receivers just to have, especially with the injuries that hit last year. It would be smart, right? But I think this is a great pick because
depth is necessary. Yes,
the 30th pick in the first round, what they probably want's going to be gone by then. Like I don't see them taking anything.
They no longer have.
Yeah, I know, but that's what I'm saying. Like that's why I think this is a good trade. Like what else would they have taken with that 30th pick? When you
lineman.
I mean, yeah,
yeah. I'm agreeing with you. Yeah, the best you're going to get is an O-lineman.
You can get no
Sean Payton,
but you get Sean Payton
greater,
and that's somebody who can bring in free agents. That's somebody that can develop young players. We're not going to talk about Bounty Gate, and then there's something else about, and then like you said, quarterbacks, the pass protection, all the necessary things. And he was on Colin Cowherd a couple months ago talking about this Broncos team before Hackett got fired and what he would do. And I listened to Cowherd this morning talk about it and what Sean Payton would like to do with the Broncos. And that's rebuild an O-line, get the run game going, take a lot of the pressure off of Russ, and when you need to use them, you utilize them. And that's what that team needed last year. You didn't need the game to just rely on Russ with all these playmakers that were around him. That's just what ended up happening with the injuries, and I think that's about it. Injuries.
Yeah, injuries were the number one issue, especially when it came to the offensive side of the football team here in Denver. So Sean Payton coming in, like I just said, he always has emphasized the two primary P's of the offense. That is protection and pass catchers. He is going to make sure that Russell Wilson is protected. And unlike what people believe is that Russell Wilson's best fit is like a West Coast offense where they use smaller offensive linemen that he could possibly see over. Sean Payton goes the opposite direction. He puts the biggest, nastiest dudes he can find in front of them.
Look at and instead of trying,
right, but the reason he does it is that because the quickest way to a quarterback is through the middle of the offensive line, coming up the gut. The A and B gaps are the quickest way to get a sack. If you can stop that what that does is it gives the quarterback time to use the periphery of the field, and that is what Sean Payton really used when it came to Drew Brees. Because when you are a shorter quarterback, it is hard to see over big linemen.
Right.
So, but if you have that big protection, he's got a big pocket and he can see,
and then he can move
passing lane.
And if it's collapsing, he can move.
Yes, he can move around and he can find the lanes in between the big guys or outside of the big guys, and they absolutely destroy you outside of the hash marks. Unlike with Nathaniel Hackett, where everything was going to the middle of the field, that is not what you do with a short quarterback.
Yeah.
A short quarterback can't see over his linemen.
This system's going to be very nice for us.
It's going to flip. Instead of everything going to the middle of the field, everything's going to be going to the boundary. Outside of slants, which is a beautiful. Everybody talked about Michael Thomas being the slant god.
Oh, dude, did you see the video from NFL memes where it was Michael Thomas catching the play with Sean Payton so he can get a slant throw from Russell Wilson every play?
Yes.
It's the guy on the wing.
Yes, it's great. Yes.
He's up for contract this year, isn't he? I don't want him, but is he? Yeah.
He is a free agent. Like,
that could be something to look at.
I don't want him, but if they could get him for I don't want him at Michael Thomas money. If he wants to take a cheap prove it deal because he hasn't stayed healthy for the last couple of years,
I'd give him $8 million.
Yeah, I'd give him a couple $1 million to come in and help teach these wide receivers.
You know what? Here, I'd give him a 2-year contract, $9-10 million, 2-year.
I would,
and not guaranteed though. Not guaranteed.
No, yeah, like performance based, real incentive laden. Like,
and that would be great, dude. Because these receivers,
if it's going to be a low ball, he's only going to take a 1-year deal. There's
right. It's like most of these receivers haven't really played under vets, except for Court and maybe Tim Patrick. The rest of these guys, and they didn't even play around
Court
them
had
for that
Emmanuel
long.
For a
and
very DT. Short time.
He had DT there for his rookie season, the year he got traded.
Oh, yes, he was. That's right. That was the year that Demaryius Thomas got traded to the Texans
because
of Cortland Sutton.
But a lot of them didn't have offensive leadership. That offense was very young from when they got there.
Yeah, so and that's going to be the biggest boon from Sean Payton. I'm glad you brought that up, is the fact that they don't have to question their head coach. Like Nathaniel Hackett, at times it was infuriating because it just seemed like he didn't know what the hell he was doing.
You said
and
it,
for a player,
damn.
Yeah, for a player, that there's nothing more frustrating than thinking you know more than your coach. Like, could you imagine the Justin Simmonses, the Kareem Jacksons, the ones that have been around for 10 plus years?
Right.
And they're looking at their coach like, I know how this is supposed to go, and that is not how it's supposed to go.
Right.
But I can't do anything because I'm the player and he's the coach. Like, they don't have to do that anymore.
Now, what are the chances?
This is one of the best offensive minds the NFL has ever seen.
And the ballsiest call of all time in the Super Bowl.
Bro, he started the revolution of coaches with gonads. Like, he's the one that created the coach that would go for it no matter where he is on the field. And we lost.
Dude, that was, I'll never forget that play. I think like the first Super Bowl I ever sat through full and watched was the Colts Bears when Peyton won his first.
Right.
I'll never forget when they went back. I was like cheering for the Saints.
We are
I was
who we
like,
thought they were.
Yeah, right. And then they're losing, and then Sean Payton's just like, "We're gonna onside kick it to open up the half," and you're like, "What?"
Yes, bro. Like balls to the wall. Yes, like he has no fear. He's been there. He's done that. He's been in the trenches,
and he has a QB he would love to work with, because this is a comparison a lot of people haven't really been making. Is Drew Brees isn't that tall? He's 5'11", 6 foot at best.
Dude, I said this yesterday. Drew Brees and Russell Wilson are the same human with a different skin complexion.
Except Russ is a little bit more mobile. Russ is just a little bit more mobile.
But I'm saying like overall human, like personality. I mean,
just nice overall guys.
Russ is more mobile, but I think people really forget how mobile Drew Brees was. Like,
especially early on.
Yeah, his early seasons when he was in San Diego, like after he had the torn labrum in San Diego, after he got that torn labrum, he kind of backed off a bit because he knew he had to extend his career, which was staying in the pocket, and he got the perfect guy who is Sean Payton, who a lot of even more than what you're talking about. Sean Payton was an undersized quarterback in the NFL at one time.
Oh, yeah.
But people don't remember that. The man held it down as a 5'11" quarterback in multiple training camps in the NFL before he became a coach.
And now there's no excuse.
Type. I mean, look at every quarterback he worked with. Drew Brees, who was a short quarterback. The only quarterback that man has ever drafted, Ian Book, 5'11" quarterback.
Right.
And now he has chosen... because he could have went to any one of these 5 teams. Every one of these teams he interviewed for. All 5 openings. And every one of them offered a trade package. And the word is that the Saints were offered much more from other teams. But Sean Payton decided he was going to Denver. He chose Denver. If y'all remember, Championship Sunday, what was the color of tie Sean Payton was wearing?
It was orange and blue, and he was wearing that divisional and wild card weekend.
Yes, it was not subtle. Even Adam Schefter came out and reported that was not a mistake. He did that on purpose.
And I mean, I think
Russ wanted him here. Payton wanted. We told you all in December. We are the only publication in the Denver area that does not have to recant or apologize for anything we did in the coverage of the Broncos head coaching search.
And also, what's going to be nice. Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
Okay, so I told you in December, Payton or bust. Dylan told you Payton or Harbaugh, one of the two. So both of us were on the same train and the same thought process.
And we all knew Harbaugh probably wasn't going to be the option, right? So it was like, it's pick your poison.
Yeah,
Harbaugh
it was most likely Payton.
Definitely the guy.
And we got videographic evidence. If y'all need to, go back to the episode we did after Christmas, the first episode after Christmas, when Nathaniel Hackett got fired. That episode, we said it then, and we never wavered. Never once did we ever go into the clickbait. Never did we tell y'all, oh, the Broncos don't know what they're doing. We told you in December, Payton was going to George Payton. We really got to start specifying.
Right. We got Payton, Payton, George Payton, and Sean Payton.
Yes.
And now you have no excuse. You don't know how to spell them right now.
Right? Yeah, we got 3 different spellings on top of it. Yeah. What is going on?
You got to know how to spell each one right.
Yes, but we told you George Payton holds everything to the vest. And I told you again and again, my source has not changed. My source has not changed. That it's Payton or bust. That yes, these other guys have legitimate shots, but the number one guy since day one has been Sean Payton.
And if you heard me talk a couple of times. Sorry, my internet's bugging right now. You stop talking, I talk, and then you're back into the middle of something. But it was that. It was Payton or Harbaugh for me. But if they weren't going to go experienced coach, I would have loved to have seen DeMeco Ryans. But that man was dead set. His heart was set on Houston, is where he was drafted and played. I am very happy with the Sean Payton. That was definitely Harbaugh and Payton were my number one tied. I will say I couldn't pick a single one.
I agree. 1A, 1B. Those guys were, and I don't think anybody can argue that on everybody's list. Harbaugh and Payton were 1A and 1B.
Right.
So anybody that wants to come out and be like, oh, so you're saying that D'Amico Ryans and all them, they just had token interviews? Like, no, I honestly believe that the Broncos really liked D'Amico Ryans.
I would have loved to have seen a D'Amico Ryans here. I'm very happy with Payton. Definitely the right choice. I just would love to see what D'Amico Ryans can do here.
And
but he's going to have a great time in Houston, I believe.
Yeah, something that I don't think people realize is that what happened with the D'Amico Ryans thing is it reeks of what happened with Drew Brees and picking between Miami and New Orleans. If you all remember, if you're old enough to remember, that offseason, the two big fish were Drew Brees and Dante Culpepper, the ex-quarterback for the Minnesota Vikings.
That's a name.
And draw you way back.
Yeah.
Right? But Miami ended up choosing, like they were, it was New Orleans and Miami. It was down to those two teams on who they were going to get. And nobody knew which player was going where. Well, first off, Miami decided they were going to go with Dante. But they did not announce until after Drew Brees signed with New Orleans. And you want to know who was on that Dolphins staff that allowed Brees to keep that leverage, to keep New Orleans believing that they were competing with Miami? You want to know who was on that staff? There you go. George freaking Payton was on that staff. So
that's the era with Dan Quinn still there, right?
Yes. That was when him and Dan Quinn were together. And they let the New Orleans Saints believe they were still competing with them, so that way Drew Brees could get the best deal possible. This right here reeks of George Payton allowing the Houston Texans to believe that they are competing against the Broncos and their $70 billion coffer to get D'Amico Ryans the best deal possible.
Walmart money, baby.
Anything you want to bet right now that in about 5 to 10 years, the story is going to be that D'Amico Ryans was allowed to let the Texans believe that the Broncos were still in it, so that way he could get the best deal possible for himself. That is what I believe. That is you can call it a tinfoil hat theory or whatever.
But it's very plausible, though. Like
it makes sense to me.
Yeah, and to me too. And you know, when you look at it, it's also like, this D'Amico Ryans going to Houston. It's a great fit for him, obviously, right? And D'Amico Ryan, like, I bet you there was somewhere in there that he was just in that office with the Texans owner saying, they got a big offer for me. Are you going to match it or not? Like, I guarantee you that happened in that office, that he was saying, Broncos, they're like, hey, that's Walmart money. What are you going to throw in front of me?
Exactly. So that is what all of that reeks to me as, because of, again, that connection, the fact that George Payton was there when that decision was made, and it fits too perfectly for me. So that is the story. I don't have any verification of that right now, and again, we won't get verification of that for years to come, if we ever get it. To be just bluntly honest, but if we do, I honestly believe that is what the case is. Again, I have no sources, nothing. I want to be absolutely clear. I have no sources, nothing that confirms that. That is just what I believe. Period.
What are the chances we see some Drew Brees out there at training camp working with some of the guys?
I would not be surprised at all. We already got Peyton. Why not?
I mean, dude,
why would you not bring in Drew Brees to
that's what I'm saying
to Russ?
Sean Payton's going to be like, hey, you want to come in here like a couple times a week, maybe work with us, or maybe we'll hire you on as a coach.
I don't think that will ever work because he's getting paid way too much on TV.
Exactly. So I'm saying, like, there's chances we could see him at like a training camp.
Yeah. Oh, definitely a training camp. Oh, because he's
here. 1 second.
No, you're good. Like, he's in media, so we're guaranteed to see him in some capacity. But as far as like him being out on the field, I definitely see that being a possibility. Him out there, helping Russell Wilson understand the terminology, understand the audibles, understand the play calls, things of that nature. So most definitely, I have no doubt that we will be seeing Drew Brees alongside, and him and Peyton are friends too on top of it. So yeah, definitely. Drew Brees at training camp, I have no doubts whatsoever. So the biggest question though is, can he fix Russ? I think we've kind of covered this already. I do believe he can, because he's already got an offense tailor-made for an under 6 foot quarterback. And Russell opens up possibilities that Drew Brees never could, even in his most athletic younger days. Russ has a different type of athleticism than Drew Brees has. He is a multi-sport athlete. So, I mean, why he was drafted as both an MLB and NFL player, one of the very, very few. Outside of him, I think the other ones that are of note are going to be Bo Jackson, Deion Sanders, John Elway. Those are the type of athletes that he is in the echelon of. And so he has that special type of athleticism and something that wasn't really as on display because he wasn't as comfortable.
All right, sorry about that.
You're good. I've just been talking away. That he wasn't as comfortable with the offense is that he was second guessing and playing slow because he was thinking about the offense.
You talking about Russ?
Yeah, talking about Russ. Unlike when he was in Seattle, where it was backyard football, he knew every play in and out. His receivers knew how he was going to react to different things during different plays. So a lot of that feeling out process, I think, is what a lot of us overlooked in the offseason last year. And also people not listening to us scream that the offensive line needs to be refortified. But beyond us beating our head against that damn wall again, because we're going to be doing it again this offseason. So as y'all heard us all last offseason talking about the offensive line, guess what? The big uglies get to talk about the big uglies all offseason yet again. So,
and I guarantee you Sean Payton's going to find some dogs, man.
Definitely. I mean, here.
Look at the O-lines that he had in New Orleans.
Right. Let's go ahead and let's jump in. What can they possibly do? Because they don't have a pick until the third round, right? So there's no way they can – well, you keep forgetting that the salary cap is imaginary, and our owner has a 70 – let me say it again and emphasize the $1 billion. Like I'm Dr. Evil.
$1 billion.
Like, dude, okay, so what can they do? How about the fact that Orlando Brown Jr., 26-year-old left tackle, is a free agent? KC's left tackle.
Oh, my gosh, I forgot that he is a free agent this year. I thought that was next season.
$50 million contract for their quarterback, a $20 million contract for their tight end. No, I'm saying $50 million per year. Sorry.
Oh, per year. I don't know what you're talking about, dude.
$50 million per year quarterback, a $20 million per year tight end. That's $70 million. That is over Mahomes. That is over 25% of your cap in two players. Mm-hmm. Two players. So the market value for Orlando Brown is going to be around $20 million. Broncos can do that with some salary cap shenanigans. Then you have guys like Rodney Hudson, veteran center. He's 33 years old, but hey, have him come in, be a mercenary for a year or two while we recoup and get back to a first round.
And maybe you can have Kush go stand under him for a bit.
Right? You got Quinn Miners already out there. You know,
Animal.
Jason, we were just talking about this guy, Jason Kelsey's 35 years old. Yes, but he is a free agent. And how about
he is still productive, man.
Our blast from the past. You want to go younger at center? Connor McGovern, center for the New York Jets that just manhandled the Broncos early in the season. 29 years old.
Talking about that.
Center. George Fant, right tackle for the New York Jets. Another guy that was manhandling people. What is the Broncos had the most revolving door for over the last decade?
Right tackle.
Right tackle. George Fant is available. Justin Pugh, a guard, 32 years old, a little bit old, but not too old. Offensive linemen, they tend to go.
You can really build a cheap temporary line here while you find your future line.
But I mean, there's even other options like Isaac Seumalo, the guard from Philly.
Oh, Seumalo, yeah, dude, that guy's a dog, dude.
He's a beast. He's a Samoan beast.
That's a guy you do not want to line up against if you're on defense.
Yeah, there are so many. Mike McGlinchey, San Francisco's right tackle, is a free agent. Wes Schweitzer, both these guys, 28, 29 years old, Washington guard. That's an absolute monster in the middle. Like Brandon Parker, the tackle from Las Vegas that Bradley Chubb couldn't get around while he was here. He's a free agent. There is actually a plethora of free agent offensive linemen that
it's the offseason of the O-linemen.
yeah. It's not only that they're free, they fit this offense because we are going to go again. I know this is probably infuriating for some fans to hear, but be at peace. We are moving to Sean Payton's offense, which requires real big physical power. Like we're going again from a zone offense to a power offense. So this might actually bode well for guys like a Quinn Miners.
Expect Javonte to have a pretty good year. That's what I'm expecting from this. From
once
hearing
he comes
this
back.
offense.
Yes.
Yeah, once he comes back.
Once he comes back. Now there is possibilities that they could go out and get a guy. Saquon Barkley is a free agent.
See, that's what I was looking at the New York free agents, dude. There are so many.
There really is. Like there's Michael Thomas, like we just said earlier, is a free agent.
Thomas,
you can add to the receiver squad.
The Giants also had a defensive lineman. One of their good ones is a free agent this year.
Oh yeah, isn't it? Was it Leonard Williams?
I think it was William. Yeah,
look.
I think it might have been Leonard Williams. But
give me a second. I got the list. Right
there's a piece to throw there next to DJ Jones,
which we do. Yeah, yep. I mean, there's all okay, we want to talk about defensive line. How about this? Fletcher Cox, Robert Quinn, Brandon Graham.
Fletcher Cox is on the butt end of his career, though.
Yannick Ngakoue. But I'm saying we don't need a bunch of guys.
A free agent. That'd be a great
Yannick Ngakoue is Dalvin Tomlinson, Jadeveon Clowney, Matthew Ioannidis. Dude, the list goes on. Like, I mean, obviously not all these guys are going to be available once free agency comes. There are some that are going to re-sign with their teams, but I'm saying there's so many that some of these guys are going to fall, and enough that the Broncos have enough cap room. Let me pull up what their cap room is just so I can let y'all know. Go ahead and talk while I do that.
While we're here on this topic of the defense, why does it seem more and more likely that Vic Fangio is going to come back? I've seen so many conversations about that.
Isn't that insane?
Miami. Yeah.
He was given the biggest contract ever for a coordinator and didn't sign it because he wanted to wait to see where Peyton landed.
Now here's the thing. Head coach Vic Fangio is a different kind of coach than defensive coordinator Vic Fangio. Now, there's some people in that locker room that probably wouldn't be happy to have him there again, but it would definitely be different, especially the mentality in the locker room is going to be different with Peyton, the new ownership, the front office definitely. And that's why I feel like it could – I'm not saying necessarily I would love to see Vic Fangio come back, but if he did, so many things have changed here in Denver now, especially the front office, that he could probably have a different and a better relationship than he did with Joe Ellis and John Elway.
Exactly. Right now, the Broncos have the 12th most cap space, but that's with the entire 53. Here in a few days, or a few days after the Super Bowl, it'll go to the top 51, which should open up a lot more cap space. This is insane, though, looking at this. The Chicago Bears have $100 million almost in cap space.
And then they're looking to trade their first pick, their first overall pick, too. Did you see that?
Yes, because they believe in Justin Fields. Please,
which you shouldn't.
Jesus, but yeah. Anyways, it's Chicago. Screw them. Whatever. Atlanta has 56. Like the Bears have almost twice as much cap space as the next guy. So I'm sure they're going to be quite active, which is the worst thing ever. Like you never want to be the team that wins free agency. It always seems to be that way. Always seems to be the team that quote unquote wins free agency is terrible next year. It's almost like
look at that year when
Philly with the dream team.
Yeah.
The New England Patriots 2 seasons ago.
Vic and the boys. I forgot about that squad.
Yep. So I mean, like, you never want to be that team that has.
Oh, dude, I got you one here too.
For guys,
I got another good one here. Kurt Warner, the year after they lost the Super Bowl, when they signed all those big name free agents, and then they just flopped to guess who? Sean Payton and Drew Brees in the playoffs.
Yep, you are correct. The year they went and won. Yep, exactly. So it's amazing how secular the NFL really is. Like the way
I'm about to buy myself a visor now, then.
I know, right? That's been like the running joke too. And like that's what's funny is like Brandon Perna said the way he found out was that the tweet from the Broncos Twitter that said added to cart, and it was just a Broncos visor. And he's like, that happened like 30 seconds after I posted a video of why no coach wants to coach for Denver. He's like, I had to change the title of my episode. Yeah, he's like, I had to change the title of my episode to why coaches didn't want to, or what was it?
He got one.
Like, or no, he went from why coaches don't want to coach the Broncos to why coaches didn't want to coach. Like it was like a small change, but like it's like
just one word.
It's like right after he posted the video, the news came out that Sean Payton, like
I'd just be so annoyed.
Video. Right.
I'd be happy, but then I'd just be like, damn it, dude.
That's what he said.
I just made like this really good video here. Now I'm gonna have to like go back.
Spent the whole morning editing.
Oh, and I bet you it was a pretty good take too.
Oh yeah, it was like a 30-minute video, and like he had went into it. Like I love
pretty
Brandon
good.
Perna.
Yeah, he's pretty good.
That's
when
good
he comes
Broncos,
to
and that's
football.
good sports. Yeah, like he's not for children. Don't give that out to children.
No.
But for us adults, he is an absolutely epic watch.
Sooner or later want to have a show that's not for children, dude. After the slip-ups I've been having recently.
Right. But so we only got to talk about referees Arian Foster and Peyton, but I think it's a pretty good episode.
That's pretty good. It's pretty good show.
I think it's pretty good. And we're gonna guess what? We're gonna be right back here on Monday evening. So come back to us and we will talk Broncos season review, off-season primer. We'll let you know. We gave you a little bit today. We let you know some of the free agents and that are available. Monday we'll go much more in depth. We'll let y'all know exactly who we believe the Broncos have.
And by then we'll have the Pro Bowl over, so we got some more topics there because that's gonna be a fun. That's gonna be a fun weekend, dude. I love the switch.
Real quick before we go, we got about 9 minutes here before we really got to jump out of here. So let's talk Pro Bowl games real quick. Joke or not a joke?
I don't think it is. Like I feel like this is gonna be a good change because
one name, Tyler Huntley.
Oh, this is okay. Yeah, now I know what we're talking about. Yeah, that was. I thought you were just talking like the game.
No, not the game. I'm sorry. I should verify.
Like,
yeah.
I was. Oh yeah, no, stupidest thing to happen. There's like at least another 10 quarterbacks I could have named that could replace.
I would have rather seen Brett Rippon. Like at least he can throw a spiral.
Dude, Russ probably had a better shot at that. Than
right? Like where's Russ? Well, actually, no. I know where Russ is. He's resting that shoulder that he tore.
Right, but it's just like there's so many other quarterbacks. Trevor Lawrence.
Yeah, well, they said that they offered T-Law, but he got injured in that last game. So.
Oh, that is true. Yeah, but I was just like, he was.
Huntley was the replacement. Yeah, Huntley was the replacement for T-Law.
But I just forget his name over at Tennessee. I'm still mad that I forgot.
Ryan Tannehill.
Yeah, Ryan Tannehill.
I would rather see him.
He had a better year than Huntley.
Hell, I would rather have seen his backup. He did more than
the kid from Cincy. I love that guy, dude.
Yeah,
he's great.
Isn't it Desmond Ridder?
Desmond Ridder. He's good. I bet you.
No, that was the Atlanta. That's the Atlanta guy.
No, Desmond Ridder's the Atlanta guy.
No. God, what was his name? Malik. Isn't it Malik something?
We'll check here in a second.
Yeah, I want to say it was Tennessee. I want to say it was
Malik Willis.
Something. Yes.
I love that guy, dude. And he's gonna have a good time there at Tennessee once he gets going. Vrabel's gonna have a good time with that guy.
I think he's got a chance, and I think that
I'm not saying
they did a good job because they're a team that's like the Steelers. Like they're never going to lose enough to get into the top 5. Their coach is just too good. Their defense is just too good. Yeah, they're never going to pick in the top 5. The best they might get is a top 10 pick. So getting a guy that you could develop, and possibly become the guy.
I mean, Tannehill's not a bad guy to be behind.
No. And I mean, he's got to be the ultimate guy when it comes to like going through trials and tribulations at this point. The man's had $200 million contracts from 2 different teams.
Comeback player of the year, well-deserved comeback player of the year that year in Tennessee. Hey, and I love that because the game they benched Mariota was against the Broncos when they shut him out.
Yes.
And that was the funniest because I remember when they made it to the AFC Championship game.
Career.
Yeah, when they got to the AFC Championship game, they were like, "Thank you, Broncos."
Right? Have the Titans not been some of the weirdest like top seeds over the last few years? Like I know they didn't make it this year, but they were the number 1 seed last year.
Dude, they almost made it with the 3rd string quarterback.
Right, but. That's what I'm saying. It's like just like with the Steelers, like they have freaking Kenny Pickett out here, who is the poor man's Andy Dalton.
1 game off.
1 game off. Both of them were 1 game off. Like
and
Mike
you know what
Tomlin
I love, though,
but that's why Sean Payton.
Yeah,
I'm sorry. I got to bring this back in. Is like this is why Sean Payton is so important. Is like those guys. Like we just talked about Mike Tomlin. Friggin' Bill Belichick.
Tomlin's my favorite coach in the league, hands down.
I love Mike Tomlin. I love Mike Vrabel.
How about Brian Flores?
Something about Mike
with the Vikings, new DC. That defense is going to be scary.
It could be.
They're not going to get killed by the Giants now.
Yes, Brian Flores is a very inventive defensive mind. Like
I
he's got
really wish they would have
really
interviewed him before he
inventive
took that
blitzes.
job.
Yeah, but hey.
But yeah, but
It is what it is.
but Mike Vrabel, while we're still on this, just reminds me a lot of Tomlin. Just the
It
way
does.
the coaching style, and then
Something
also
about the mics, bro.
Yeah, and then it's just also, they win.
Yes.
They don't make sure they're not winning Super Bowls or making the AFC title games. They are well-coached teams that are having winning records.
Yes, well-coached. That's why, like, it's a
Tomlin's
cliche.
never had a losing record in Pittsburgh,
because he did get to over 500 this year, didn't he?
Yeah, they finished off 9-8.
That's what I thought. Okay, yeah. So I was like, yeah. So he still has not had a.
He wasn't letting that happen. I'm not letting you guys throw this for me.
Right? He's like, you ain't gonna fire me. You ain't about to fire me.
Dude,
like,
if they ever fire Tomlin.
And what was funny is, like, I told Steve, like, I had this whole thing. Like, I don't know what it is with me telling other fans to chill out about their teams, but I have to do it sometimes. Like, I had to tell Philadelphia last year to chill out and not trade Jalen Hurts.
He didn't even play bad last year. He took you to the playoffs. No, sure, you ran into Brady, but he took you to the playoffs.
Right?
And now look where you're at.
Right, but I'm saying, like, the coaching is important.
Coaching is the number one role. I don't care what anybody says.
Well-disciplined. Yeah, coaching. A coach and a quarterback are non-negotiable.
That's where you start.
Yeah, if you don't have, if you don't have both, it doesn't matter. The Broncos showed that last year. They had a great quarterback. I don't care what anybody. You cannot convince me that Russell Wilson is not a great quarterback. He is. Period. Overall body of work.
Colin Cowherd actually had a really good take on him today. Like, this guy, like, I always dread hearing some of his takes, but what he said today was pretty good. He was talking about, he said, I believe Russ has a lot of football left in him. And he's like, the Sean Payton move is going to be probably one of the best things that will happen for him in Denver and probably one of his career.
Mm-hmm.
Because, look where he's at, the lowest point of his career, his worst season statistically. Like, you can only go up.
Yeah, no, seriously. And it wasn't his fault. Again,
sure, there were just some things out on the field that but then the rest of it.
I want all of you to go and strap your arm to your body and then try to throw a football. That's essentially the same as what that man was doing with a torn ligament. Ugh. Okay, for those of you that don't know what a ligament does, it makes sure everything goes back to where it was supposed to. Okay, if you didn't have it, all your limbs would just be all blue, blue, you'd be a big old puddle.
A noodle.
Like nothing would work. You're
so wacky inflatable arm flailing tube.
Right. And this man had a torn ligament in his throwing shoulder.
I can't imagine how bad that hurt after every game.
Oh, like I know he had to be getting cortisone shots, but that only does so much.
Dude, that wears off by half.
Right. And like, even when it is working, like, your body tells you there's something wrong. Like, your body doesn't work the way it's supposed to work.
Let's just be glad Dr. Butterfingers with the Chargers wasn't with the Broncos this year.
Right.
The man that ended Tyrod Taylor's career and kickstarted Justin Herbert's career.
Right. That's still crazy. A man got stabbed in his lung on an NFL sideline.
I feel so bad for Tyrod, dude.
By
I
a
really
doctor.
Like him.
Right.
Like, the
by
guy
a doctor.
Right. Aren't you supposed
to? Not a crazy fan.
This is another Chappelle bit I'm going to bring up. It's just like when he talks about Michael Jackson, he's like, if I have a doctor inject me with heroin, I should survive.
Hey, I'm just saying. I think that's a good way to end it. If the doctor is shooting you up with heroin, you should survive.
I should
remember
live.
that, kids.
Like, guys, you should just live.
My God. We just went off the rails at the end. All right, so let's go ahead and end this before we go too far off on a tangent and this man starts dropping F-bombs or something.
Hey, I made it through. I made it through.
A whole episode. Yes,
we're only going up.
Congratulations. He made a whole episode without cussing.
Dude, it just ended after the live show, dude. I dropped that one F-bomb, dude, and we just stopped doing shows.
This MFer this dude drops an MFer. Yeah, I know. I'm sure you probably had those thoughts. No, we had other reasons, but we won't go into those. We'll go ahead and end this on a happy note. This has been
Sean
a great
Payton's
one,
the coach.
guys.
That's all we need to say.
That's all we need to say. Sean Payton's the coach. I hope Broncos Country is happy and elated. Again, we want to be tempered. We know what happens. We don't want to eat humble pie again. But I do have a belief that Payton is going to be the solve for all of the wounds in Denver, in Broncos Country. So enjoy yourselves, Broncos Country. We appreciate you showing up for us. We love you. We appreciate you. We'll be back again here at our regularly scheduled time on Mondays at 5 p.m. going forward. So again, I am your host, Dan Wetstein. That is Dylan Miles. And for the Answers 42 in the Breakin' Broncos podcast, Don't question the blue.